Okay.
Okay, so what you had anticipated or what you experienced was previously at X percent body fat, you implemented some of the initial changes, you were able to reduce, it seems as though, what was it, 19.4?
19.4, I think it was before.
Okay, and so now it's at 18.6, so that's almost a point less,
Hmm.
right? And you want to look at the few things that you put in place. Did you get a heart rate monitor?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, and so were you burning 10 to 15 calories a minute while you were wearing that heart rate monitor?
Was I burning? You know what? I just received it on Friday, so I did it Friday, Saturday, and yesterday. And what
Okay,
did I burn? I can't even remember, but it was seemed to be pretty good. It was like 300 calories, I think, for
okay,
40 minutes.
okay, so 300, let me just pull up my little dealy bobber here, my convenient little desktop calendar. So 300 calories, right?
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah, and then we're dividing that by what, 40 minutes you said?
40 minutes.
Okay, so that's about 7.5 calories a minute. All right,
I
now
want to be at 10.
your goal is to get to 10, and this is where when people start to wear a heart rate monitor, the reality of what they felt as being hard and what they think is being a hard workout and what actually is hard. So with that heart rate monitor, it allows you to determine, okay, well, how far am I off? And so right here you're at about 2.5 calories off of that 10 calorie minimum. So our first goal is to push you into the 8, push you into the 9, and move you towards the 10.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And that will improve it. Now, some of the ways that you can definitely speed up your process as it relates to cardio, you're shooting for 7.5 or more calories a minute, shooting to 10. You're doing 40 minutes. You could go to 50. You could add a second session a day, typically an AM PM kind of scenario. Will definitely help speed up your process right now. You have a limited amount of time available to do that, so to make the biggest amount of change right now would be my suggestion in adding those 2 days. Okay, so that's raising your intensity, raising your frequency, meaning 2 times a day.
Right.
How many days a week are you doing it?
Um, well, I've been doing cardio now for a week, 7 days straight.
Okay,
Did that
so you probably
doing it like every other day.
Okay, so previously you were doing it every other day, so now at 7, you've managed to see a change. I would probably suggest only 6 days so that you at least get a day rest so that you're not, working yourself into an overtrained state. I don't hardly ever recommend a 7-day schedule unless I was talking to someone who's an absolute beginner and walking was just, a challenge going up and down stairs. So I don't think that's you in this scenario, but so, the frequency going to 6 times a week, 2 times per day, moving from 7.5 up towards 10 and beyond calories per minute. The next step is to look at, where was I going? We had time, duration, frequency. Are you experiencing any challenges with shin splints or knees or ankles or back pain?
No.
Okay, so then that right there is a good step up from where you were. The next step to look at is, okay, how many calories are you eating per day, right?
Okay. Well, I
Now we made
increased. I add.
we made some adjustments, right? And it was only about a few hundred calories,
Mhm.
right? So you actually started eating more calories, right?
Right.
And dropped body fat.
Right.
How did that happen? What happened, right? So really what I was suggesting before was that you did not have enough energy to do the workload that you were asking your body to do, so we supplied it with some of the essential things that it needed so that you could drop your body fat down. So obviously the combination between that and then stepping up the cardio really helped you a great deal.
Right.
Yes?
Right.
Okay, so now looking at the component regarding the strength training and the pieces that you put together, some of the ideas that I suggested for lower body,
Hmm.
yes, did you start to implement those?
Yes.
And what was the feeling that you had after initial, the first time you added them to your program? What did you experience in your lower body?
Once I added the additional calories, I was really able to go much stronger in the gym. So I feel it was a better workout, definitely. And I
Okay,
feel better
good.
soreness.
Okay, so good. So did you experience some delayed onset muscle soreness the next day? How long did that last? Was it 24, 48 hours, or until you?
About 24. I haven't really kept track, to be honest.
Okay,
But I'm kind
okay.
of
Well,
constantly sore, though.
yeah, yeah. That's one of the fun parts of this whole process is you constantly feel dead,
Yeah.
tired. The use of a workout logbook. Are you recording your workouts that you're doing? Now we record our cardio. Are you recording the exercises that you're doing, the amount of weight, the amount of reps?
Yes.
Okay. And are you striving to meet or beat what you did the previous workout?
Yes.
Okay, so by adding weight or
Okay.
reps or a combination of the two, do you count the amount of time, for example, that you're training during the workout? Like you start at 5 o'clock, for example, a given time, and you make sure that you're finished with the weight training component by 5:45, and then you immediately go into doing cardio right after that. Is that how you do it?
I typically do cardio first, and then
Okay, so you do it before the weight training. Okay, well here's going to be a new flash. Let's switch that order around, because if you do the cardio and you're striving to burn that quantity of calories, you're going to find yourself burning off a lot of the glucose or glycogen in the muscles, and that's what you need to fuel the muscles for the workout. If you use that during the cardio component, you're going to create a situation where you are going to limit your strength when you hit the weights. So if you flip it around and you do the weight training first, the weight training will cause your body to reduce the glucose in the bloodstream, and then the remaining glucose that's still in the muscles will be utilized when you start doing the cardio, and then after about 20 to 30 minutes, your body will start kicking into burning fat far more effectively, a much more efficient way to do it. Does that make sense? Yeah, so just flop that sequence around, striving to do the cardio post-workout. If you find that you are having challenges with time, you might split, portions of the body in the first part of the day and portions of the body in the second portion of the day with cardio afterwards,
okay,
if you have that kind of time available. Okay, how are you sleeping?
fine.
Okay, going to bed, you just hit the pillow and you're snoring and you're gone,
Yeah.
shaking, kicking.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And are you following any of the flexibility work?
The flexibility work.
Are you doing any work with foam rollers?
No.
Anything like that? Okay, so do you stretch work?
No, I mean I stretch, but I don't do any of the foam rollers or anything.
Okay. Now, I think how many days do you have left until your event?
Just under 4 weeks.
Okay. So you have time. I mean, you can do this right up until the event, and if you lost a point just basically in this first week, that's almost a point, about 0.8%. You can definitely lose a lot more. You should expect to lose another 3 or 4 points before then. So look to get to that point. Expect it in your mind. Do you celebrate Christmas in your household?
Yes.
Right, and you get all the packages ready for the kids.
Right.
They kind of know. Did we talk about this
No.
before? Because you're smiling already because you know my story. But my story basically is when people are coming up and they have Christmas in their household and they tell everybody, this is what I want for Christmas, and they already know under the tree there's that package that they're going to get for Christmas, right? So they have this level of expectation of what they're going to get Christmas Day. By the time they get to the package and unwrap it, they already know what's in there,
Right.
but they're excited before it comes. That's how I need for you to be right now. As you go through your process and you start doing and taking these steps, expect yourself to drop another 3 or 4% here in the next 4 weeks, okay?
Okay.
All right, so these are the things that I would suggest right now at this stage of the game. Please, send me some adjustments with what you're doing. I know we talked about making some adjustments with, some of the nut butters and adding the fish oils. Did you do that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So all of the things are working, right? Had we started this process sooner, maybe there would be more change by now, but already you're starting to see a positive impact, so that's good.
Right.
Okay, any other thoughts, any other questions?
So as far as my weight goes, I mean, I know it's obviously positive that the percentage went down a little bit, but the weight, didn't move, should I not even worry about it? What do you think? I mean, do you think my goal should be like to get down to previously for my last competition I was at 98.
Okay, now that's weight. Yeah.
Right, that's
All right. And you are how much right now?
104.
Okay, and so what was percentage before?
God, what was it? Like toward the end, I didn't even care because I was fine with the way I looked.
Okay.
I think it was I think I ended up like around 13.
Okay, I think I recall you mentioning that. So, yeah, I mean, this is typical, and I'm sure that you talk to your people about this, not being so overconsumed with the number on the scale,
Right.
and understanding that the size of a muscle can shrink, or I should say the fat that surrounds a muscle can actually reduce in size. And if your clothes are fitting looser, but the weight on the scale indicates that it's about the same or even possibly going up a half a pound or a pound, that's not really the big concern. So I wouldn't get too fixated on the weight on the scale. I would think more about just the reduction of body fat over time and the inches in your clothes fitting more snug. And you'll probably start getting more comments again too from people noticing the changes in your face and your body as you go through this. Okay?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
Sam had mentioned that maybe because I was talking to him today, and he mentioned, why don't you try doing the zigzag diet, like going heavy on the carbs one day and then no carbs for 3 days.
Okay.
What do you think?
I think that's one approach that works. Typically, we will implement that when we get to a point where the person starts to plateau, right? But at this stage, why would you want to add more carbs if we haven't really bottomed out and plateaued?
Okay.
If we would have started this process much earlier, you could have made, some definite changes doing that particular technique. But when you have this window of time that's so close, you want to go down as low as you possibly can on carbs at this stage just to speed up the process.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then if there's a plateau and or a post, you decide that you want to continue to stay on this because it kind of feels good, looking good. I think at that point you can start to do that. People typically will do really good Monday through Friday, and then Saturdays with the kids or going out with friends, they eat more carbohydrates, and then come Monday, they do the same thing. So it's about a 5 and 2 up and down cycle.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So that's a really good way to kind of maintain your off season instead of getting all big and stuff, right?
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Okay.
Okay. So yeah, I've implemented both strategies. Both of those things work, but to speed up a person's process, just dropping them down right away to really get that body to start feeding on its own fat stores. And then once you've plateaued, then you might have a day where you boost those carbs back up again and then shut them down again. And that may be different for everybody. It may be a 3, it may be 4, it may be 2 days on and 1 day off. So we'll play with that as you go forward.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, what about fat burners? I am taking some fat burners.
Okay, well, you mentioned that before, and I usually don't suggest any to people until I know that they have a good handle on all the other stuff. So, there's a lot of different things out there. What did you decide to use?
It's called Asia White, and I feel really good on them.
Really? Okay, no kidding, yeah. What happens is your metabolism really drops off a great deal. So typically people will take them in the morning, midday, and evening.
I'm just taking 2 right now. It says maximum 3, but I'm just doing 2.
Okay, so do you take 1 at a time or 2 at a time?
1 at a time.
Okay, and so when do you take them?
In the morning for breakfast and then for lunch.
Okay, so they're really good. A couple things happen. They're really good appetite suppressants. I don't suggest them for everybody because they get really sketchy, meaning they feel like kind of, on edge, and it can really speed up a person's metabolism to the point where they don't feel comfortable with that, and they really don't know how to interpret it. I have, had people that got a little crazy with that stuff, and when they get too crazy using it all the time, then they really don't know how to eat correctly, and then they start using that instead. So it's kind of a good thing to use during these last few weeks. You might see yourself going from 2 to 3 to 4, spaced out at regular intervals like 6, 10, 2, and 6.